This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. with free weekly content and free shipping on orders over $150. You can save 5% site-wide by using the promo code MTGMudsta. If you're looking for a direct way to help the channel, please consider joining my Patreon and becoming a member of the generic Goblin Gang.
Hey gang, and welcome back. I apologize in advance if I sound a bit nasally. I'm still congested from this awful daycare cold. Thankfully though, Matt, Dom, and Eric joined me well before I got sick, so we're playing a game today, and I'm playing Shorikai, keeping Glacial Fortress, Rise and Shine, Island, Razortide Bridge, Mech Titan Core, Cultivator's Caravan, and a Tazri the Seeker. Matt has built Zopandrel, keeping 2 forests, Birds of Paradise, Overwhelming Stampede, Battle Mammoth, Turntimber Symbiosis, and Soul of the Harvest. Dom has decided to go with some equipment in mono red, playing Valduk, and he keeps Mountain, War Room, Felwar Stone, Underworld Breach, Cathartic Reunion, Unexpected Windfall, and Terror of the Peaks. Eric is playing his ally-themed Tazri deck, keeping Maze's End, Island, Ondu Cleric, Arcane Signet, Generous Gift, Teferi's Protection, and Vanquisher's Banner. I win the die roll and start us off. I play a tapped Razortide Bridge. Matt plays a forest and casts Birds of Paradise. Dom just plays a mountain. Eric plays a tapped Maze's End. I play an island for turn and pay 2 blue for Silent Submersible. Matt has a forest for turn, and he exiles a card with the Foretell cost and passes. Dom plays a War Room and pays 2 for a Felwar Stone. Eric plays a Plains and also plays a 2-mana rock with an Arcane Signet. I've got a Glacial Fortress for turn, and I cast an Azorius Signet, and then a Mecha Titan Core and pass. Matt draws and plays Turntimber Symbiosis on its backside as a land, and he doesn't pay the life so it comes in tapped. He then casts a Soul Ring, and he casts a Foretold card, which is a Battle Mammoth, and he passes turn. Dom draws, and plays, and then cracks a Scalding Tarn. He finds a mountain, and then plays Unexpected Windfall, discarding a card, drawing 2, and making 2 treasures before passing. Eric draws, and in his main phase casts a Canter of Endless Water. With no land drop though, he has to pass. I've got a Plains for turn, and pay 3 for Cultivator's Caravan, and pass. Matt draws and pays 6 mana for Soul of the Harvest. He then goes to combat and swings the Battle Mammoth at me, dealing 6. He passes after that. Dom draws and plays a mountain. He then casts Valduk, and once his commander's out, casts Jeska's Will, gaining 6 red mana and exiling his top 3. He decides to cast a Darksteel Plate from his hand, and then equips it onto his commander. He then casts Dragon Mantle onto his commander as well, but leaves the 2 other cards in exile. Moving to combat, Dom makes 2 3/1s with haste, and swings them both at me, dealing another 6. After that, the 3/1s disappear, and Dom passes. Eric plays a Plains for turn, and then casts Vanquisher's Banner, naming allies it comes in. He passes, and during his end step, I cast Thirst for Knowledge, discarding a Mirage Mirror so I don't have to discard 2 cards. I play Temple of Enlightenment, scrying 1 as it comes in tapped. I then cast Shorikai and pass to Matt. Matt draws and plays a Reclamation Sage, and he targets Shorikai as it enters. I respond by activating my commander to at least dig a bit and make a pilot token before it's destroyed. Matt also gets to draw a card from the Soul of the Harvest. He then plays a Strionic Resonator, and moving to combat, he swings the Battle Mammoth at Dom, who blocks with Valduk but still takes some trample damage. With nothing else, Matt passes. Dom draws and plays a mountain. He plays a Shadow Spear and equips it onto Valduk. Dom then follows it up with a Professional Facebreaker, and moving to combat, makes 3 3/1s. He swings one elemental at each of us, with his commander also going at Matt. I crew up a vehicle by tapping my pilot to block the token coming at me, and Matt blocks Valduk with the Soul to Harvest, and both him and Eric take 3 from the unblocked elementals. In his post-combat main phase, Dom plays a Humble Defector and passes. Eric draws and plays Ondu Cleric, drawing from the Vanquisher's banner and then gaining 1 from the Cleric as it enters. With nothing else, he passes. I've got an Ancient Den for turn, and I then cast a Tazri the Seeker, upticking my Walker to untap my 2 artifact lands. I then follow up with a Sculpting Steel, copying the Cultivator's Caravan, and pass. Matt draws and plays Bane of Progress. Eric responds to the trigger going on the stack by using Generous Gift to take out the creature, so at least Matt won't have a massive creature by the end of it after all of our artifacts and enchantments get destroyed. The board is then wiped of artifacts and enchantments, and Matt then plays a Forest. Moving to combat, he swings the Soul of the Harvest at Tezzeret, and the Battle Mammoth at Dom. Tezzeret dies, and Dom takes 6, and with nothing else, Matt passes. Dom draws and activates the Humble Defector, gifting it to Eric and drawing 2. He then casts Terror of the Peaks and moves to combat, making 1/3/1. This has the Terror shooting Matt's Elephant token for 3, and Dom then swings the Elemental at Matt and the Facebreaker at me. We each take 3, and Dom makes 2 more treasures from the Facebreaker triggers, and with nothing else, he passes. Eric draws and gifts Dom back the Humble Defector as he draws 2. He plays a Basilisk Gate and passes, announcing he'll activate the Maze's End on my turn to go and find a Gruul Guild Gate. I draw and play an island. I play Universal Surveillance where X is 3, drawing 3, and passing. Matt draws and plays a Rogue's Passage. He then plays a Sigardian Zealot and goes to combat. He gives the Birds, Mammoth, and Rexage +3/+3 from the Zealot's ability, and swings all 3 creatures at Dom. Dom blocks the Birds with his Terror of the Peaks, and the Rexage with Valduk, but still takes 9 from the Mammoth. After that, Matt passes. Dom draws and plays Sword of Feast and Famine. He equips it onto his commander, and then donates the Humble Defector back to Eric again after he draws 2. He then casts Gamble, discarding a Harmonic Prodigy at random after finding a card for hand. Moving to combat, 2 elementals enter, and Dom shoots the Battle Mammoth twice thanks to his dragon, but at least Matt gets to draw 2 cards from it. Dom then swings the Professional Facebreaker at me, and the 2 elementals at Matt, with Matt blocking one of them, while I take the hit, and he takes 3. Matt then discards a card, while Dom untaps his land from the sword trigger, plus gets to make 2 treasures from the Facebreaker. In his post-combat main phase, Dom casts Underworld Breach, and uses it to help cast Jessica's Will from his graveyard, gaining 8 red mana. He then casts an Ancient Copper Dragon from exile, and shoots the Soul of the Harvest, and then casts the Will again. This time he plays an Impact Tremors from exile, and then an Ash on his altar. He then sacrifices the 2 tapped elementals to help play Fireflux Squad, and uses the Terror of the Peaks to kill the Sigardian Zealot as it enters. We all then take 1 from Impact Tremors, and Dom then sacrifices the squad to cast Jessica's Will again for the 3rd time. He plays Perforos from exile, which deals 6 to Eric from the Terror of the Peaks, and then 1 to everyone from the Impact Tremors. Dom then wraps things up with a Liquimetal Torque, and then a Mirror Shield from exile. He equips the shield onto his commander, and passes to Eric. Eric draws and gives the Humble Defector back to Dom to draw 2 as per their agreement. He then plays a District Guide to go and find a Gond Gate, and then plays it for turn. Eric says he needs his Ondu Cleric to die to deal with Perforos, so he swings at me, and I trade with my pilot. In his post-combat main phase, Eric exiles Masked Vandal, exiling the Cleric as it enters from his graveyard to exile Perforos. After that, he passes. I draw and play Ghost Corner. I then cast Sky Sovereign and shoot the Humble Defector, passing at that. Matt draws and plays Druid of Purification, but Dom responds with Tybalt's Trickery. He rolls to see how much Matt'll mill for, and it's 2, and Matt then reveals until he hits Nylea keen-eyed. With nothing else, Matt passes. Dom draws and plays a Goldspan Dragon, dealing 4 to Eric, and then he makes 3 elementals as he moves to combat. This deals 3 to each of us with Impact Tremors, and he swings the Facebreaker at me, 2 elementals at Eric, and everything else at Matt. Eric and I then take our hits, with Matt dying, and Dom gets to roll a d20 for the Ancient Copper Dragon, dealing damage. He hits a 10, but also has the Goldspan Dragon, so at least the treasures will tap for 2. And Dom gets to also untap his lands thanks to the Sword Trigger. Dom then sacrifices 2 treasures to exile his top 2, and he then sacrifices 2 elementals to make 4 colorless mana, and he casts Brass's Bounty, jumping up to 19 total treasures. He sacrifices another treasure, exiling Soul Ring, which he then plays, and keeps sacrificing treasures to exile further into his library. He eventually finds an Inspiring Statuary, which he then casts. He then casts Clark, Fury of Avernus, which he uses to shoot me with. Dom then continues digging, and plays a Mana Crypt, and a Bludgeon Brawl. Unable to find a second combat, or something to kill us though, Dom then throws his treasures, Soul Ring, and Mana Crypt as equipment onto his commander so he'll get more elementals the next turn. He passes after that. Eric draws, and plays a Heap Gate. He then plays Tuk Tuk Scrapper, destroying Dom's Sword of Feast and Famine, which also deals 2 to Dom. Eric then follows up with a Harabrad's Druid, destroying Ashnod's Altar and dealing 3 to Dom's face. With nothing else, he passes. I draw, but without a board wipe, we know we're beat, so Eric and I scoop it up to Dom. Game review time. Wow, my voice is sounding awful still. This is very frustrating. Probably as frustrating as Matt, who wasn't even able to play his commander or get any of those doubling effects going. I think the whole purpose of his deck was to make big dumb creatures and swing them sideways, and the only really big one that he got to cast was that Battle Mammoth. Eric also seemed to be a bit frustrated this game, as he wasn't hitting his land base consistently, and the few mana rocks he cast really didn't get him to the point where he could do too much. That Harabrad's Druid would have helped him much earlier, because it would have made his allies be able to become mana dorks, but that late in the game just wasn't enough. I think I was in a pretty good position early on. I had a lot of mana, I had my commander out and some decent vehicles, but that Bane of Progress basically set me back so far. After Resolved, I really wasn't a threat for most of the game, and outside of drawing some cards, I didn't do a whole heck of a lot. I think the table was relying on me to draw into a board wipe, because Dom's Valduk team was just so brutal. That Terror of the Peaks was fantastic, as it meant that every time he moved to combat, we were taking 3+ damage, depending on how many equipments he had on his commander, and it just got insane so quickly. I think at a couple points we even missed a few of the Terror of the Peak triggers, which just goes to show how powerful his deck was going. He even got to do the thing that he really wanted to do, which was cast Bludgeon Brawl and then equip a bunch of zero-cost equipments onto his commander, so that was pretty sweet to see.
This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.